Hi, I'm Angela Sanders. I am a yoga teacher, mindfulness instructor, and self-management coach based out of Northeast Ohio. And I put together what I intend to be about a 10-minute long video to be submitted to LinkedIn Learning to hopefully be considered as a LinkedIn Learning instructor. But I also want it to be something that can be shared generally and give some helpful information. So it's also for that potential impact as well. I had an idea of what I wanted to offer, but as I started to put it together, I realized I have a totally new and better idea based on the experience of putting together this type of video, which I have done before. Like many of us who are content creators and educators, around this time last year, our jobs changed, at least for most of us. Unless you were already, for whatever reason, an online instructor, teacher, or facilitator, the transition from going to being in person to beginning to teach online via a variety of different types of screens has been an added layer of confusion onto what is already a difficult job. So for me as a yoga instructor, I went from being in person with crowded classrooms to teaching to screens. Sometimes I can see my students, sometimes I can't see anything. Also, putting together these sorts of videos is interesting because I literally have no concept of who is watching this and how you're receiving it. And if you are the sort of person who is extemporaneous and in the moment as an instructor, that can throw your groove off very easily. So what I'd like to do is share 3 very simple practices that you can implement and onto what I'm sure you already have as a strategy for these moments when you have to teach and you don't really have a great automatic connection with the people you're teaching to. So the first thing I'd recommend is take some time to practice. Even if you're not the sort of person who practices a speech or teaching opportunity regularly, I wasn't. But this is a great chance to do that. Get to know yourself on a screen. Record yourself maybe. Talk to your mirror. Get back to the basics of public speaking. Notice what sort of tone do you have. Notice your breathing. Notice your body posture and notice your environment. If you're teaching online, you're maybe teaching from home. That seems pretty likely. What room of the house do you tend to teach from, and how does it help your energy or hurt your energy? We used to be teaching in classrooms and in public settings. We didn't have a whole lot of control over the setting, and in some ways it can help to have a crowded room to teach to, but now we just have whatever we can set up for ourselves. So take some time to notice what it's like to practice and get some observations from it, and maybe change things up, do some things a little differently. This is also a great opportunity to connect with what it is that you are offering as a teacher. So that would be my second point, is get back to the values that are motivating you. Why have you decided to present this particular topic? As influencers, educators, it's easy after a while, especially if you are well educated on a certain topic, to come in with your prior knowledge and get into a room full of people and just simply feed off of the energy that they give you. I mean, you know what you're talking about. You probably did preparation, but it's not as difficult to do the preparation because these are things you know about and you speak about regularly. But now you no longer have the same audience. And even though you can still step into a virtual room and present the same information, you are, in a sense, it can feel like you are just speaking to yourself. So before you go in and deal with that sort of an environment, take some time to remember, why do you want to be here? What is it that you're hoping to offer? What is it you're hoping to accomplish? It's almost like getting back to a state of childlike wonder, or a new person coming into learning something that they're excited about. What gets you excited about your topic? For me, that's why I changed my entire topic, is because this is something I'm passionate about right now. And maybe that passion will give you a brand new dynamic to your speaking opportunity. Along those lines, the third thing that I would recommend is to think of yourself as your own audience. So for me right now, I'm looking at myself on my camera. I'm literally talking to myself. That can feel awkward. I'd say that's one of the biggest awkwardnesses to teaching online, has been feeling like I'm recording myself teaching a yoga class, and I have 5 or 6 students, and some don't even have their cameras on. They're all muted, and the few who have their cameras on, I can only halfway see what they're doing, but I can see myself very easily. So it makes you feel like you're almost in an echo chamber of your own words and thoughts. But it's not the worst thing. So you've already connected with your values, so this is an opportunity for you to connect with yourself as you express those values. You know what it is that excites you about your topic, so take a chance to get excited. Excite yourself. And when you do that, that's when the genuineness comes out. So if you find yourself over a screen sounding a little robotic and automatic, which can happen, that's a way to help you connect with your joy and then to feed it back into the audience that you yourself cannot see. So those are my 3 suggestions. To get back to the aspect of submitting this video to LinkedIn Learning, you asked me, what can you expect from me as an instructor? So these are things that I present in coaching situations and sometimes in yoga classes as well. And a lot of my content will be based on similar things. So I focus a lot on values, helping people understand why they do what they do. I like to help my clients and students find genuineness and connection with what it is that they are offering, because that's when we are at our best. So connecting with your own values as an instructor online, I mean, that's a simple exercise in a very structured space, but gives you a chance to realize what it's like to know what a value is. You can expect me to do similar things as an instructor. I like to take big concepts, my hands go places you can't see, like big concepts, and then boil them down to things that are a little more structured in a more confined space so that people can understand them. Values are a huge concept, but they don't have to be overwhelming. You can look at what a value is in a very specific setting in your life, what you're offering as an online speaker. And then you can build off of that, see values in other areas of your life. I like to give my students tools. I love lists. Lists are great, and that way people can choose what steps speak to them. They can add their own, integrate it to what they already have. I believe that my students and my clients are very capable of making good choices and learning new things, and that I come in just as an additional resource. I do not consider myself to be the end-all be-all expert on anything, but I am very good at helping people find the best inside of themselves. I like to help people have good contact with themselves as individuals, because again, if they're capable and competent, they don't need me to tell them who they are or that they have to be different. Rather, help them get to know who they are first, and then allow them to decide for themselves if that's who they're wanting to be or if they want to change. So that begins with things like getting in touch with your values. Imagine speaking to yourself. What gives you joy? And if you don't feel any joy when you're talking about what you're talking about, what does that tell you? And what do you want to do with that? And finally, as a coach, I have extensive training as a Gestalt coach, and we like to use what are called experiments, a very simple concept that yields huge results. Experiments are just about what you'd expect. They are opportunities to try things differently and see what happens. So in a coaching conversation, that would involve a client getting maybe stuck or confused or trying to get some awareness around something, and you as the coach come in and say, okay, well, here's something that you could try differently. What do you think about this? And then they give you another idea for how to do it differently. And it's a whole process, but essentially it leads to just doing things differently and seeing what happens. So as a teacher, it's more complicated because we're perhaps less complicated. Either way, it's different because you can't talk to the people that you want to create experiments with, at least not always. So I just give some new ideas, like practice before you actually get onto your phone and record a video. It is one suggestion for one way to do things differently. And even if it doesn't work for the student or the client, it opens up the possibility of more possibilities, which is very important. If there's one thing that I think we had to learn in 2020, it's that when everything goes sideways, trying to do things the way we always used to is useless. And it was frustrating, but it created the possibility of more possibilities, because once you realize that it is possible to do things differently, it's hard not to take that mindset and to look at all the different areas in life where things could be done differently. So I hope that that gives you a good idea of how I am as an instructor. I am extemporaneous. I like to create some notes for myself and then just go with it. I consider myself a genuine person, sometimes a little silly, but hopefully easy to understand and more or less fun to listen to. And I would love to create more content for LinkedIn Learning. And sometimes that happens.